friend, welcome back to my channel. It's hard to believe, but we are doing the first update on my Pan Nat palette for 2022. As a friendly reminder, I am trying to pan the ColourPop Fame palette. Before I go ahead and talk to you about how the first month went, let me go ahead and kick it back to the start of the project so you can see where the palette began its journey on. And here's what my palette looks like after a 1 month of usage. Okay, so unlike last year, I think I'm gonna try to do as many updates filmed like this versus overhead because this palette doesn't have a mirror or difficult packaging to show you how this works. If you prefer the overhead style, let me know in the comments below and I can definitely make an adjustment I may have to make an adjustment once I actually am with child, but I am really jazzed about the first month. Like I do for the most part when I start out with a new palette for the year, I tried to spend the year really just playing around and getting a feel for what was in here. So I'll go ahead and start. Maybe you're not as surprised as I am, but the first one that I have really considerable pan in is Center Stage. This is basically what I use as a base. So once I'm done putting down my MAC paint pot on my lid, I then go in and just lay this down from basically my crease up to my brow bone. And then I do my crease color, my lid color, all of that. I love a good cream. If you guys have watched any of my previous panning, I tend to always wipe out a cream first. And in this palette, I actually have 3 cream-esque shades. I have Center Stage, which is the one that I'm currently working in and we'll finish off. And then I'll probably move over to Delirium, which is really similar in principle. And then I probably would move over to Celeb, which is this pinky cream version, unless it pulls drastically different on my skin tone, which I don't think it will. I will then move into this one. So it's kind of been my methodology. So you're not gonna see a whole lot of pan or even usage on those 2 shades while I still have Center Stage here. The other one that I have pan on is Clubhouse. The pan isn't super abundant compared to Center Stage, but I guess I'm not, when I really reflect on it, that surprised by it because when I was pulling this palette out, I really tended to use Debutante and Clubhouse together. I really love Debutante on my lid. And I feel like that was what I was mostly using this palette for. And I really do love Clubhouse. Even with other shades in here as lid colors, I still find myself gravitating towards Clubhouse as my all over matte crease shade. So I do a pan on there, even though I tried to play around with other shades in here. I will also say I enjoyed Razzle. I feel like Razzle goes well with the golden type of lid colors in here. For example, Extravaganza. Those 2 pair really well together. Meanwhile, Clubhouse is more of a cooler, almost purple leaning type of brown color. So I can pull it in other ways. I also have to say another standout for me that I really liked in here was Extravaganza. This I feel like is a really powerful lid shade. I almost feel like I have 3 types of shades in here, and maybe you guys already knew this, but it's kind of news to me. I've got mattes, I've got a satin type of shade, not a sequin, but a satin type of shade. And then I have a true metallic. And I feel like I'm mostly drawn to those truer, metallic, almost liquidy, really powerful lid colors. When I say satin, I notice with Showboat, for example, It tends to not be as punchy on my lid as I want it to be. Same thing with the Most. Those two, like, they're fine swatched out, but actually on my eyes, they're just so-so. Like, compared to Extravaganza, oh, like, look at how much punchier. Maybe it's not reading true on camera, but the other two here are just like kind of eh. I don't feel like they're as bada boom as I want them to be, as they could be. I also will say, Piece of Me down here, which is like my purple color, I don't know about that one. It's fussy. It's definitely not an easy to work with, blend out kind of shade. And I don't know if it's because this is on the older side or if it was always fussy like that, because I never really pulled for it. It's definitely a shade that once I get it in my crease and work with it, I like it, but it's not an easy, like, let me just do a quick makeup look, I'll go ahead and pull that one into my crease. It definitely is one that takes more time to work with. The other thing you'll notice is, even though there's an X next to Blase down here, I have a shadow. This is not from this palette. I felt like, and this is before I think really discovered Extravaganza, I felt like after using the Most, I was like, oh no, like, I want more of like a impactful type of gold. So I went into my Disney Princess Collection palette and pulled out the gold shade that I had been using alongside my The Rock Pirates of the Caribbean palette. And I actually pulled that out and got pan on it. After doing that a couple of times, I then dipped into Extravaganza, and I kind of have stayed there ever since. I didn't feel like popping this shade out before the update, but I will say that there's no guarantee I'll keep it in here for the next month because I haven't really been pulling to it as much. I definitely feel like there's enough in here to work with. So all in all, month one was a pretty good success. I have found some good go-to looks for me. I've gotten a good variety of kind of whatever kind of look I'm into, whether it's gold or pink or like a bronzy. This offers all of that. So I really feel validated in my choice to want to pull this palette out and use it for my first month especially. I definitely think going forward, as far as goals, I don't really have distinctive goals. Maybe just to keep working on Center Stage and seeing how far I can get with it. But the truth is, even in the second month, I want to keep exploring this palette and really using as many shades every month as I possibly can, because I tend to burrow into certain shades and like dig in and use them up completely and then go to something new. Whereas I would like to kind of this year perhaps more evenly work on the palette as a whole and not necessarily get left with just one shade or two that I'm working with at the very end, but hopefully have a bunch of shades that are still like hanging on as the year goes on, and I kind of more evenly work on the whole palette versus just kind of being a bit more selective. I feel like that's really possible this time around because I have such good go-tos and such variety that I'm not necessarily going to dig into one type of look, I hope. So that is where we stand after month one. I would love to know if you have any good combinations or recommendations for different types of eye looks to do with this palette. Please drop them below in the comments for me, because I do have so much of the palette left to work with that I would love to hear how you would pair these things together or what you would be up to. And of course, I'm hoping that I'll still be able to make steady progress in the next month, even though February is the month that I will become officially a mother, which is super bananas. So stay tuned for all of that to unfold. I very much appreciate you being here. I hope you enjoyed seeing my first month's update, and I will talk to you in the next video real soon.